So, hello and welcome to this Facebook Live, our first Facebook Live, as I said. And we're going to talk about pricing and whether you can put up pricing and whether you shouldn't put up pricing and what happens if you do put up pricing, okay? As simple as that. This Facebook Live has been stimulated by a conversation on a WhatsApp group. In a WhatsApp group, someone had found an old article of mine and very generously put up the article and said, here's the article by Robert Craven, I think is a great article. And then someone came in behind that and said, oh, I can't believe the man says put up pricing. That's absolutely nonsense. That's absolutely bonkers. How can you put up pricing? You cannot put up pricing unless you add value. This is so totally wrong. And then the commenter goes on to say, and more importantly, Robert Craven then goes on to talk about getting more customers. How can you get more customers and put your price up? The whole thing doesn't work. So I thought we should talk about this because it's something that is very strong. My name is often Robert Put Your Prices Up Craven. So I just want to talk through the logic. If you are going to grow your business, if you are going to look at growing your business, there's an order of the way of things that you can do. And if you want to look into more detail about this kind of ratchet system of how to sort out a business, it's a standard consultancy technique really for me. You can look at the work of David Meister. David Meister has written a book called Understanding the Professional Service Firm. Absolutely fantastic. Meister, like myself and like other people, says the number one thing you should do, the first thing you should do if you want to grow your business, the first thing you should do, if you can, is you should put up your prices. And that's really controversial. You say that in Singapore, you say that in San Diego, you say that in Warsaw, you say that in the East End of London, you say that in Newcastle, and people say to you, you just don't understand what it's like in San Diego, Singapore, Newcastle. There's no way you can put up prices. Price, the thing that everyone competes on around here is price. The one thing you cannot do is put up price. And I 100% disagree. The point is that if you imagine where most of us are in the food chain, where we're too small to be big and we're too big to be small, and in that squeeze zone, you cannot compete on price because there's always going to be people who are cheaper than you. There's always going to be people who are able to deliver at a lower price. There's always going to be kids in attics somewhere charging $5 an hour and happy to do it and happy to take money when you're trying to create a premium or a better product. At the same time, above you, you've got all the big clients, the big agencies, and they're the ones who have the brand, they have the voice, they have the ology, they have the case studies, they have the testimonials, and so they can charge premium prices because no one ever got sacked for buying IBM, that phrase. So you can't, you can't compete with the guys at the top because they have the big brand, and they have authority and they have the IP. My point is, more importantly, you mustn't compete with the people underneath you because the only thing they do is they compete on price because they always say, hi, buy from me, it's cheaper, faster, smarter, I'll do anything you want. Yes, I'll jump, I'll get on my head, I'll get on my tail, I'll do what I want. And you cannot compete with them on price because that's the only thing they compete on. You must not compete with them on price. You've got to do the reverse. To compete with the guys above you, the way you do that is you do that with your compelling story, your backstory, your understanding, your intimacy, your engagement. That's how you compete with the guys above you and with the guys beneath you. You just don't compete with them. You do not compete on price. Okay, let me explain why you don't compete on price, because people go, oh, I'm really not sure. Let's actually just go through the arithmetic. The arithmetic is in many of my books. If you've got any of my books, it'll be something that you will see and you will know and you will understand. The latest book, Grow Your Digital Agency, you go to page 80, and we have two charts, okay? One chart there, one chart there. Never quite sure whether that's back to front for you or not. But let's just imagine you have a product or a service and you sell the product for 10. That means you are buying for 7. That means your gross profit, I hope there aren't any accountants out there, but that means that your profit is £3. So you buy for 10, sell for 7. 3 is the profit, 30%. If you put your prices up by 10%, from £10 to £11, if you put your prices up from £10 to £11, okay, So your profit, in effect, is you're still buying for 7, you're now selling for 11, your profit is now that the £4 on the 11. But if you put your prices up by 10%, what happens? And the answer is, what happens is that some clients will leave you. They will leave you. I guarantee they will leave you. Some people are so price sensitive that you put your prices up, they will leave. And my point is this: who are the clients that leave you? They're not the loyal clients who understand the value. They're not the loyal clients who get what you deliver. They're not the loyal clients who respect you and want to stay with you and want to learn from you. The clients who leave you, they are what I call the pond life and the scum. They are the people who are only interested in getting the cheapest. If they can't get the cheapest, they go somewhere else. They are the ones who do not refer you to other people. They're the ones who phone you on Saturday morning because it's not good enough. They're the ones who phone you on Sunday morning because it's still not working, because they don't understand the concept of getting value from you. They just want cheap. So you will lose customers. Now here's the point: how many customers will you lose? The maths says, in this table on page 80, in this wonderful book and the other books, the math says that if you put your prices up by 10%, and you've got a gross margin of 30%, as we've discussed already, you just take your finger and you join your finger upward in the chart, and you can afford to lose 25% of your customers. You can afford to lose 25% of your customers, and you still get more money in your back pocket, the same amount of money in your back pocket as you had before. So you were working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You put up your prices by 10%. You lose 25% of your customers. You now only need to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You can take Friday off, or you can spend Friday adding incredible value to those people. I'm not saying you shouldn't add value to them. And there are always people out there who want to pay the premium price. I bet not every one of you out there buys your coffee from Aldi and Lidl. You buy it from Waitrose and Sainsbury's because that's how you like to buy your coffee. That's where you like, because you think you're Sainsbury's or you're Waitrose people. So it's not all about price. It's about something different. So let's just think about it. Now I can hear you saying, you go, but it's different in Singapore, San Diego. Here you need to understand, Mr. Craven, that things are different. Everyone competes on price. So let me just go through what happens if you put your price down. You charge 10, you're buying for 7, the profit is 3, which is 30%. You put your price down by 10% to be more competitive. Okay, so it was £10, it's £9, you're still buying for 7, you're making a £2 profit on a product which you sell for £9, that's cool, that's fine. But the maths is really scary. Have a look at the tables in the book. You follow your fingers along, 30% gross margin, 10% price decrease. What's the number you end up at? And the number you end up at when you join those together is 50. 50. 50 what? 50%. What does that mean? What it means is if you wish to reduce your price by 10%, which is absolutely fine. I've got to reduce my price because nobody under Mr. Craven really doesn't understand how difficult it is running a business, how competitive it is here. If you put your prices down by 10%, you need to sell 50. You need to sell 50% more stuff just to have the same amount of money in your back pocket. If you don't sell 50% more stuff, you are losing money, you're going backwards. So, let's just go through it. You put your prices up by 10%, you can lose 25% of your customers. You only work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You spend Friday looking for better customers. You'd spend Friday alternatively adding more value to the customer option. Or you just spend Friday whacking golf balls. Or you put your prices down because you're so worried about the competition, in which case you put the prices down by 10%. Prices down £9. You need to sell 50% more stuff. So you were working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You now need to sell 50% more stuff. In other words, you need to work another, do the math, another 2.5 days a week. So you were working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now you need to work Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning of next week in order to keep pace. It is bonkers in 95, 98, 99% of cases. It is bonkers to compete on price. For independent small businesses, it is bonkers to compete on price. If you compete on price, and Professor Michael Porter says it, competing on price is a mug's game unless your pockets are deeper than anyone else's. So yes, Aldi and Lidl's pockets are deeper than anyone else's, and yes, they make money on their cash reserves, not just on their trading, and yes, they have a scale and they make money on their property portfolio, so they never lose out. But you are not Aldi or Lidl. So if you can put up prices, why do you put up prices? It's a really clear message to your competitors that everything's okay and you're quite sorted out. It's a really clear message to your customers that you believe that you have a value offering. It is a really excellent filter for tire kickers who always want cheap, cheap, cheap and are not loyal, are not going to stick with it. Also, and the language is sometimes considered controversial, but I'll still go on about it. Also, it stops you from feeling like a prostitute. You don't feel like you're prostituting yourself. You feel like you're getting the right price. You feel respected by your clients. And more importantly, you are now able to invest that profit in things you need, like innovation, like research and development, like drawing money out of the business, like your pension. That's only fair. Now, the kickback that I got was you can't increase price without increasing value. So let me just run through this. Different people value your product at different price points. Now, microeconomics talks about supply and demand and says that people know what something costs, and if it costs too much, they stop paying for it. But this is this definition of Homo economicus, the idea that man is rational when they look at supply and demand. And we are not rational. Look at what you buy, look at what you purchase and when you purchase it and how you purchase it. We are not rational beings, we are irrational. And if someone thinks your service is and they'd expect your service to be worth, I don't know, £1,000 a day, say, and you come in at £400 a day, although it's incredibly cheap, they probably won't buy from you because it's just too cheap, too good to be true. And the person isn't valuing themselves at enough. So argument number one is about, different people value yourself at different levels. Secondly, people aren't just buying the utilitarian added value, they're buying peace of mind, they're buying confidence, they're buying people like us buy, so therefore I will buy. They're buying style, they're buying relationship, they're buying long term, they're making themselves feel good. Psychology of how and why people buy is extraordinary, and you only need to think about all that stuff around pitching prices when you use anchor prices. If you want to be clever about how we do pricing, we can go on. And whether you consider that to be a manipulation of people or whether you consider it to be helping people to buy, just look at behavioural economics and how we can change everything. But my point is this: do you need to increase value to increase price? No, you don't. If you increase price, you filter out the pond life. That's the good news. If you increase price, you send a message out saying we do something better. And you obviously need to demonstrate and deliver that you are doing something better. So let me just give you two quick examples of a price point piece. So bread. How much can a loaf of bread cost? It is flour, yeast, water, salt. Flour, yeast, water, salt. Okay. We've got a client who's a bakery. They had a loaf of flour, yeast, water, salt. You can get a loaf of bread from Asda or Lidl, Tesco's for 50p for the cheap one, the not the desperately nice one. So our clients are charging £26, not £2.60, £26 for a loaf of bread. Flour, water, yeast, salt. Some history, some story. Awesome tasting loaf of bread. I have to say it's the best loaf of bread I've ever tasted. And people buy it. Loads of people buy it. Michelin star restaurants buy it. Famous stars buy it. It is bread, yeast, water, salt, flour. But people buy it at that price point. So this happens in nearly everything. Cars, Ferraris, watches, Rolex. You know, people don't buy a Rolex to tell the time. It's a piece of jewellery. But my point is this. In every industry, there is a high price point. And in every industry, more importantly, there is a customer, and they reckon it's about 13%, who will always want to buy the highest price offer. You may consider yourself to be a Mercedes driver. You don't need a Mercedes to drive from A to B. Perfectly possible for you to have a little Mini or something to do it, but people like the luxury or the prestige of having it. So my point is, you can charge more. Not everyone can, but you can. Most people don't. I'll give you another example. A digital agency we've been working with. Most digital agencies charge about £50 to £80 an hour for like pay-per-clicky type stuff, their internal cost. They should be charging nearer 100. I'd like to think they're charging 100, but this particular client is charging £180, £185 an hour. Why? How can they charge £185 an hour for what essentially is a commodity? Well, one, they're really awesome at doing it. They do it really, really quickly. And secondly, it's how it's presented to the client. And thirdly, which is the main thing, the results that they deliver are really awesome. Are they 3 times better than any other agency? I'm not sure. But what they're doing is they're not just selling pay-per-click, they're selling the wrapper, which is about the service, which is about how people behave, which is about what actually goes on. So let me kind of wrap this up a little bit. If you can put up prices, I stand in front of probably 30,000 people, 40,000 people a year, and I always ask that question. Hands up those of you in the audience who put up prices in the last 6 months or a year. Maybe only about 25-30% of hands go up, which is fine. There should be many more. I'll come back to that in a moment. And then I say, keep your hand up if when you put your prices up, it damaged the business. All the hands come down. So this is my point. In 95% of cases, when people put their prices up, the clients say, I'm surprised you haven't done it before. The clients say, that's fine because we understand what the value is. And the clients that think it's too much, they're going to move. But I would argue you probably don't want clients, especially if you're an independent business, you don't want clients who don't value what you do. You don't want clients who don't understand what you're doing. So point one is putting your prices up almost certainly won't damage your business, but I don't guarantee that. I'll give you another example. I was in name dropping. I was in New York. This guy came up to me and said, "Whoa, I saw you in, as it happened, Amsterdam. You said put prices up." And he's kind of wagging his finger at me like this. He said, "You told me to put my prices up." And I said, "Well, I didn't tell you to put your prices up. I just said it's a recommendation. Most agencies can do it. You put your prices up." And so I did put my prices up. And I said, "Oh, great. What did you put your prices up by? 3%, 4%? He said, "I put my prices up by 50%. And it's like, oh no, I can feel I'm going to get that punch coming in the face at the moment, because he's going to then go on about how unhappy he is. And I felt really compromised, because I never would have said you must. I just would have said you can, try it out, test it. And he said, and it's been the best thing that ever happened to my business. Our turnover's doubled. We've got bigger, better clients. We've added a few more people. Our profitability has trebled, quadrupled. And the next year looks fantastic. I just wanted to tell you how great you are. Big hug." That happens, not maybe as controversially or such big numbers. It happens on a consistent basis. People who put their prices up make more effort to show the value, to add the value, to sell better, and they get on better. So if you can put up your prices, if you can't put up your prices, just as a little aside, point number 2, then look at all your direct costs and go and try and reduce them. So if you can put up your prices, if you can't decrease your direct costs, it creates the same thing, because as Dilbert says, if you want to look intelligent, tell people profit is the difference between what you pay for it, something, and what you sell it for. Okay, put your price up is the best way, and you can pretty much not ad infinitum. There'll be a point where you can't do it, but you can put your prices up more than you think. You can't put your costs down more than you think, but it gives you the same effect of giving you more profit. So if you can put up your prices, if you can't decrease your direct costs, And of course, just while we're on that subject of becoming more profitable, the third thing on my list would be, so one is put your prices if you can. If you can't do that, decrease direct cost. If you can't do that, the third thing would be fix your underperformers. You have underperforming staff, underperforming customers, underperforming suppliers, underperforming product. Try and fix them. If you can't fix them, sack them. Brackets, ideally, do it legally. So that's where I'm going to leave you. If you can put up prices, that's my challenge to you. If you can put up prices, I was working with some agencies yesterday. They'd walked away from me and they put their prices up by 10%. Zero impact on customers. Customers were happy to pay for it. Why? Because they were offering awesome value, and the customers were surprised that they hadn't charged more in the first place. So my message is, if you can, put up prices. If you can't, decrease direct costs. That's a route to getting to more profitability. Objections to putting up prices. I really struggle. There's always just about how. We can talk about that another time. How you can put up prices. You can do it once a year. You can do it because of increased costs. You can bundle things together. You can tell people that they are now a gold version or a silver version or a bronze version, and therefore they've gone up and therefore they need a different price increase. There are lots of ways you can put up prices. That's not the issue. The issue is just getting on and doing it. So if you can, put up prices. If you want to know more about how we work and what we do with digital agencies particularly, go to GYDA, GYDA, GYDA Initiative. GYDA comes from the name of the book, Grow Your Digital Agency, GYDAinitiative.com. Next week we're talking to Dilith Parsons. Dilith specialises in client relationships and how agencies manage their client relationships, and whether that's a profitable thing to do, whether it's a cost, whether it's an absolute no-brainer. So we'll do that on Facebook Live. And if you want to contact us at GYDAinitiative.com. Check out the GYDA Initiative Facebook page. We're always here. We always want to talk to you. So on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching. It's been absolutely great. My name is Robert Craven, and that was my sort of rant about putting up prices. So what are you going to do as a result of listening? Please just have a little think about whether you could put up prices and what the consequence would be for your business. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much, and I'm going to hit the finish button. Bye-bye.